Hi, everyone. Welcome to Trail Talk. I'm here in the Creative Writing Lab today with Dr. Nathan Brown. Now, I'm still here at the Chisholm Trail Heritage Center in Duncan, Oklahoma, but Dr. Brown is coming to us from Texas. Oh, the wonders of technology and Zoom. We love it.
Yes, it is
Welcome to
true.
Trail
It's true.
Talk.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, I'm so glad you could join us today. I know you've already had a virtual visit here at the Heritage Center today. You've been teaching one of the creative writing classes. You do this a couple of times a year for us, right?
Right. I come in once a semester, and I meet with two Duncan classes and a Marlowe class and an Empire class. And we've been doing this. Goodness, I mean, it seems like a decade now, give or take. I'm not sure, but I love it. It's so much fun, and the kids are absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, that is awesome. I snagged like a notebook and the pencil and the eraser.
Right.
I thought maybe I'll find myself creative or something today. Who knows? So I realized that I was looking at the about you information on your website, and I was noticing that you've done creative writing workshops around the world.
Yes. Yeah. I have, I taught at university level for many years, but it was professional writing as well as creative writing, some Renaissance studies and art history, things like that. But the earliest part of my life, I had a musical career. I was a songwriter for many years. I lived in Nashville and was a music producer as well as songwriter, things like that. And workshops. So I taught workshops throughout the years. And after the poetry thing came into my life and became such a force, then, whether it was songwriting or poetry or memoir or whatever it was, writing workshops became my staple. That was what I did. And I've, just depending on what, who's looking and who's organizing, I've done them from Tuscany to Ireland and all over the United States. And I have to be honest, as a teacher, the workshops are really kind of the joy of my career, because those are the people who really want to be there, and they are there with intent. And those are always the best students. And that's
Right.
it's a treasure, and I love it. Yeah.
Well, it just occurred to me as I was reading through that what an amazing thing that you are, you've taught in Europe and all these places, and you're teaching in Duncan, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
You're teaching kids, and like Empire, a country school like Empire, those kids, I mean, I'm sure that they don't really grasp or understand how significant it is that your experience, and then that you're able to pour into them and help them find that creativity in themselves. I just kind of blown away when I thought about it all like that.
Well, one of the things that I love so much about kids is what it is that they don't get, what they don't read into, what they don't realize or understand about you. And so, to be honest, it's a much more natural transaction. It's
Right.
not like, you're not walking in where, somebody's knows this you've done or that you've done or whatever it is. And sometimes when I describe to the kids my music producing and recording engineering days, and tell them that one of the main things I did when I lived in Nashville was actually producing R&B and rap. That will sometimes get a little eyebrow. This old guy, produced R&B and rap, and that kind of throws them and confuses them a little bit, just a little bit off balance, to where they kind of listen to me for a while.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, I feel like I kind of jumped into the present day, but how about if we kind of go back a little bit? Tell us a little bit about like where you're from originally and how you came to be a songwriter, musician, poet, author, all of these things. I'm sure this will take a little bit, and I may end up with a question or two along the way, but I think it'll be great for us to find out those things about you. So are you originally from Texas?
Well, I was born in East Texas, so Longview, Texas, which to somebody who's from El Paso, they would just basically say, "So you're from Louisiana?" You know,
Yeah,
because you're as far away from El Paso, Texas, as you are
right,
Florida, the panhandle
right.
of Florida. It's just crazy how Texas works. So I always tell people that Texas is a minimum of 5 states, but it's maybe more. And it's a totally different, thing. But we moved to Oklahoma when I was 5, and I lived in Oklahoma until I was in my late 40s. And I consider myself absolutely 100% an Oklahoman. I served as Oklahoma Poet Laureate back in 2013 and 14, and Oklahoma will always kind of be my home. I live now in Wimberley, Texas, which is an absolutely wonderful little hill country town down about an hour outside of Austin, and we live way out, even way outside of our little town on 5 acres that you wouldn't be able to find if you had good maps. And so we absolutely love it. But man, I'm an Okie. I'm an Okie to the core. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So, what part of Oklahoma did your family settle?
Well, I lived in Norman. My dad came in 1970. He was a pastor at First Baptist Church in Norman, Oklahoma here. And
Okay.
he served at First Baptist Church for 30 years and is just
So his
he is a
Levon, is it
Levon
Levon
Brown. Yeah,
Brown?
Levon Brown.
Okay, all
Mhm.
right. Interesting. Okay, I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
he's a what would you call? He's an institution here in this town.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And so you grew up in Norman, and did you always sing or write songs, play instruments, that
Yeah,
sort of thing?
well, the way I tell this to do it quickly, when I was 8 years old, I had an older brother um, hand me an LP, the big compact
Right,
discs.
right. Uh-huh.
um,
Yeah, the old,
handed,
the old record.
handed me an LP of John Denver's Rocky Mountain High album. And from that, as an 8-year-old, and then he handed down to me his old Sears Silvertone acoustic guitar. And from that moment forward, I was going to be John Denver. I mean, and I don't mean
Right.
I wanted to be like. I said, I was going to be.
Be here.
And that, and so there's a whole lot more to the story, but I don't think I ever, outside of a brief period in my life where I kind of quit the music thing for a while, but it was all guitar, singing, and piano and stuff from that point on.
So did you have like a little band or anything
Oh,
like that there
yeah.
in
I mean,
Norman?
by the time I was in my mid-teens, I was playing in horrible garage bands that were, writing really terrible rock music, and oh God, it was awful, And I still
Right.
have some of the memories
Yeah.
of that time, and when I listen to them, it's like, wow, how do we ever get to somewhere better? Like, how do we ever get over that? But I think, it's a part of the process of becoming an artist. I always tell people who want to begin, who want to do art and want to, bad is a
Mhm.
really important first stage. And
Right.
you must walk through it, and there's no way of getting out of it.
Right. Exactly. Well,
So
like you're probably like every artist I've spoken to, you're always stretching yourself.
right.
You have to try something new. You have to or get better at whatever it is you're doing. You're always wanting to push yourself to that next level.
Mhm.
And I just find that common thread among artists that I've talked to before.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I guess, you went to University of Oklahoma?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, there's only one, right?
Yes. It depends on who you're talking to, and yeah.
My friend behind the camera is an Oklahoma State grad, so she kind of rolled her eyes giantly
I
just
love it.
now.
Well, so one of my favorite things. So my father-in-law is a UT grad, and I have a lot of friends at UT.
Oh,
And
uh-huh.
I love the way they say it. They say there's only one school in Oklahoma, and they're both a problem. So living down there is dangerous, and you have to keep your
Oh, for
mouth shut.
sure.
Mhm.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's
Oh,
so
yeah.
funny. So
Yeah.
you went to the University of Oklahoma and did you study music there?
Well, it's so funny. I started in music. I think my very first declared major was zoology or something. And then I think I went to music in my bachelor's and then wound up in linguistics and graduated with that one. And that I actually really loved. And then my master's degree was in creative writing. And then my PhD was a dual PhD in the English department and the journalism department, and was with a degree in creative and professional writing. And I brought the two departments that kind of hated each other together, and
Right.
they gave me a dual PhD. And to be honest with you, I actually treasure that experience. It was a little bit of a trailblazing thing to do there at OU, and it had great results, and I was super happy about it.
Yeah, that was quite a feat, I'm sure. Begrudgingly, they both had to.
I had equal number of
Sorry.
professors from both departments, and they had to sit there in my defenses and meetings and stuff, and it was pretty interesting to watch the dynamic.
Sure it was. So you did you go straight through then? Like
Now,
bachelor's, master's, PhD?
you know, that's an interesting thing. I'm a traveler by nature, and so I tell people I took about 23 years to go straight through, meaning like, yeah, this semester I'm going to be in Europe for a little while, so we'll start classes back up next semester. I was definitely on the slow track. The other thing is that I was absolutely determined to pay as I went. And so I was not going to have debt when I left school. And I actually left OU with a PhD with zero student debt. And that was one of my goals in life, because I had watched that ruin my friends' lives.
Yes.
The student debt thing, and I just wasn't going to do it. And to be honest with you, it turned there. I have to say, I don't think there's a better way to get an education than over a very long period of time. And I learned more. I figured out better what not to do, and don't take that class. And here's what I really do want to do. And the people who try to cram, they end up going into something they don't want to do, and they try to finish anyway. And I think that's a terrible education. I really do.
Wow, what great advice.
Yeah.
That is really good advice.
In America, everything in this country is get it done, get it done. And I just refused. I just wasn't going to do that. No. Yeah.
Yeah. You are kind of a trailblazer, I think. Just here, I feel like you're kind of out there making your own way.
Well, there's not really there's no forethought. I just simply make everything up as I go. So it's,
Well, that's a good way to go about it too. So were your songwriting days then mixed into those PhD years? Is that how that kind of went?
Yeah, I mean, I spent some time in Nashville, sort of between the bachelor's and the master's, and but really kind of, I'd come back, I'd kind of take a class, and I never really just stopped school for very long, at any given time. I did live in Nashville for a while, commuting back and forth, and worked in the music business there, which was a, positive / mostly negative experience or whatever. And but Nashville was a part of my schooling, because I figured out an awful lot about what I don't want to do. And that's also an important education,
For sure.
Yeah.
To be cliche, completely the school of life.
Right. and all the hardness that goes with it.
Right, exactly. So when were you writing poetry all along as well?
It's interesting because I'll be honest with you, songwriting was probably the core of my life up until I'd say my mid-20s. Poetry was a discovery that I made later on. And I'm kind of glad of that, because I avoided a lot of the poetry that I never did like. I realized I didn't have to like. By that age, you realize you don't have to like what you don't like. And to be very blunt, There's a lot of poetry I don't like.
Right.
Because I'm a storyteller. See, I come from songwriting, and in Nashville, if you write a song that doesn't have a story, you're out.
Right.
They just
Yes.
kick you out. You have to connect to an audience. That's what Nashville trains you to do, is connect to an audience. So all this ethereal, elite, educate, like university kind of whatever academic poetry, I would read it. I had an education and had no idea what they were talking about. And I thought, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to do that. And I found this other kind of poetry and these other poets where when I would read their poetry, it was like chocolate. And I wanted it again, like I wanted to listen to a great song again. And I said, no, I want to write poetry. I want to write poems that people would want to read more than once.
Yes.
That's what I want, and not sit there and read it and go, ooh, and not actually have any idea what it's saying. I just don't have any time for that.
I can remember taking a poetry class when I was getting my bachelor's, and we read this, and it was one of those, and I just sat there, and the teacher she was asking us, what did that mean? And someone behind me said something, and I remember just turning and looking at them thinking, how did we read the same poem? Because and the teacher was right on with them. And I thought, man, I think I'm not going to make a very good grade in this class.
It is. I actually tell students, which is at the university level is a dangerous thing, that when it comes to poetry and when you read poetry, there is a chance that what you read, that it may actually not mean anything and not really matter. And maybe we ought to just skip over it. There is a chance that there's a good amount of poetry that is not worth our time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so poetry, though, of the things that you've done, I read that you've written books. Are they all poetry books?
Most of my books are poetry. I have started a travel memoir series.
Right.
There's something that's, when you write poetry for most of your career or song lyrics, and you dive into prose for the first time, there's a crazy freedom. It's pretty like, oh, this is just kind of fun. Like, I can talk like I can write like I'm talking. And I absolutely love it. And there's going to be a series. The name of the series is called A Vagabond at Large. And what I'm doing is I'm doing a series of books, travel memoirs about certain trips that I've done to certain parts of the world, where each book is specifically about that part of the world. And the first one to come out is a France book. It's called Just Another Honeymoon in France. And it's the first in the Vagabond at Large series. And the next book I think is going to be Italy. And it's turning out to be it's an absolute blast. But most of my other books are poetry. Yeah.
So this traveling series, are like, what kind of readers would want? Is it like here are things that you should see and do, or here's my experience there? Like, how is that written?
It's a strange mixture of both, if I could get away with that. And this is the thing. This is
your book.
It's sort of like it is a story, with a beginning and an end. So it's not like, oh, now I'm going to talk about this place. It's actually a story that it begins with airports and ends with airports. And it's all, I tell the story of the trip. Now, while I do that, though, I'm also talking about the places that we did, the things that we saw. And so my goal for this book series is, if you travel to these places, what you need to do is buy the Frommer's Guide and and read them together, because it's not a guidebook, and yet it is kind of, because I'm showing you a little bit more of an insider, like here's what everybody doesn't normally do when they come here.
Right. I love that.
Yeah.
My husband and I are planning a trip to France.
Okay.
Hopefully next summer.
This one is
So,
mostly in Paris and and then Bordeaux, Paris and
okay.
the Bordeaux region. So like you know, the town with the famous Cognac, France.
Oh, okay, right.
So Bordeaux and Cognac and all that, and so
Uh-huh.
it focuses on that and the high-speed train ride from Paris down there and that kind of stuff. So
Oh, that sounds great. See, yeah, I'm gonna have to find that book and read that. We're
it's just kind of fun because it's basically it's sort of a here's what they won't tell you.
right, right. Those are the best kind. That's the best kind of
Yeah,
book.
yeah.
So I read also that you came up with a pandemic poems project. And
Yeah.
then so tell us about that. That sounded interesting.
Well, this is probably the most I would say, well, life-changing, but I might say art, the artistic aspect of my life, probably one of the biggest changes that has ever been forced on me of anything that I've ever experienced. And so, as the story goes, for many folks, COVID came along. I make my career as a traveling performer and teacher in poetry and
Right.
music. That's what I do. So COVID came along and the lights out. My
Mhm.
career was over. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, and no money coming in. And it was a terrifying place to be. And around April of 2020, my wife was having a Zoom happy hour with friends. And one of them came up with this idea. It's like, well, you should just put the word out, tell people it's like that they can commission a poem for a donation of any size. And and you'll write them a poem on a topic about this weird year and what we're dealing with that they want you to write about instead of what you want to write about. So here's what they're worried about. So basically, I entered into this project that is now still going in the fall of 2021. I'm on the 5th book of commissioned poems. I have had poems commissioned by people in Saudi Arabia to the island of Tonga, to the Bronx in New York and Anaheim, California, Minneapolis, Oregon, Canada.
Wow.
I laughed when I put the word out, and then it turned into a new career.
Yeah, right.
I make my living off of commissioned poems at the moment.
Commission.
Yeah.
And is that kind of a new twist on writing poems? I mean, I guess.
Oh, the reason is, okay, so let me give a quick example of just how mind-bending this can get. I want you to think about for a second, the very first time, which happened, by the way, in early May, the first time that you get a commission from a woman whose husband has just died of COVID, and she wants you to write a poem for his funeral. That
Wow.
that will remap your brain. It changes you forever. You realize, this isn't about me. I have to do this not only for her, but for this family, but for all the people who I have to say, I would say that honestly, from that moment forward, I never really looked at my art form the same again. You have a responsibility to people.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that and not be trite, but be meaningful is and by the way, the poem went through 14 edits with her and I going back and forth over email.
Right.
So it honed me like a fire. It was wow. It was, and so that went on. And by the way, that wasn't the last commission I got for that very thing. And so, that kind of is a good illustration. And what somebody wants you to write about in Saudi Arabia is not what somebody wants you to write about in the Bronx. And neither of those is what's going on here in Texas and Oklahoma or whatever. And so it expanded me in a way I had to do research. I had to research these countries and I had to know everything about Tonga when I wrote this woman her poem. And I had to, so these books required tons of research to be able to
Wow.
speak to what it is that they wanted.
And each one of those essentially is a very meaningful, special gift, for each of them. It's unique, and it's, just, wow.
It's
Amazing.
some of the interactions I've had with these people, I can't even express the level of emotion. The other thing is, it's an interesting thing, as an artist, like if you have, let's say, a fan base, which is an awkward term that I don't like to use, but you have people who follow what you do, and that you all through the years, and your music or your poetry, whatever it is. This has been another side effect of this. And I know you first of all, you learn who your true fans are.
Right.
And second of all, I have now developed a relationship with those people who truly do love and follow and enjoy my work. I now have a relationship with them on a level that I never experienced in my past life as a traveling and performing artist. Permanent relationships and friendships.
Oh, right. I'm just astounded by that whole idea. I just think that is awesome. And you say this is continuing on. You're still.
It's still
Is
going.
it
Yeah.
something you'll do forever? Do you think
I don't know.
Going?
I'll, to some extent. Now, when I'm able to go back on the road, there'll be some things that will change. But right now, I'm taking commissions for what will be the 5th book in a series. So book 1 is called In the Days of Our Seclusion. So that was the first 3 months of the pandemic, where it was lockdown, masks, hoarders, empty store shelves, The second book was In the Days of Our Unrest. So that was the late summer months and George Floyd incident and all the protests and the wall of moms out in Oregon. And so it was that season. The third book was, I believe, October through December, and it was called In the Days of Our Undoing. And it was the book of the election season, for better or worse. So you can imagine what people were commissioning on that. And so mind expanding again, because you weren't necessarily getting to write what you wanted to write. You had to respond to their prompt about politics or this person or that person.
Regardless of where you stand.
Regardless of where I stood. And it was a delicate operation, but it expanded me. I think it made me a little bit bigger and better person, as an artist. But that third book, that was a tough one. That was a tough one to get through. And then book 4 ran from December 2020 up through May of 2021. And that's when I thought it would be over.
Right.
And then the Delta variant came along, still couldn't travel, still couldn't do anything. And I went back and started another online video series. And I said, well, folks, it looks like it's going to be a book 5. And sure enough, it just started all over again. And so I'm in the middle right now of accepting prompts and donations for book 5. And
it's interesting, isn't it, that there was a need that people didn't even realize they had.
That is perfectly put.
And then you provide this, and
no, I have many people that respond to their poem when they get baffled. I've actually had people tell me, I was doing this to support you because we love you as an artist. And they said, I was not prepared for the experience that I would have in seeing what you did with this. I just wasn't prepared. So now it's an interesting thing. I have people who are commissioning poems for friends and for other people. And they are surprising them with them
as a gift.
At birthdays, as a gift, at birthdays and dinners or get-togethers and family gatherings and stuff. You know, I've had poems, these pandemic, I've had these poems read at weddings. I've had them read at funerals. I've had them, it's, I mean, I think you can see on my face that even having done it this long, I'm still baffled.
Right. Wow.
And blessed and grateful, I should add.
Right, exactly, exactly. My
Yeah.
goodness, I just love that so much. I really didn't understand it when I read. I had a feeling, I mean, you know, the Pandemic Poems Project, that's a catchy title there, but I had no idea the depth of
Well,
what that
I had a lot of friends, writers who were writing their way through the pandemic, right? So I knew a lot of books were being written about the pandemic. What I began to notice very quickly, though, it was all their experience of the pandemic. So it was where they were and what in quarantine and what they were doing. And what I found out about, what I discovered quickly about the Pandemic Poems Project is this wasn't about me. This was about everyone else and what they were experiencing. And by the way, it's chronological. So all the poems have the date they were written on them. And it's actually it's almost like a book series, a chronological book series that walks you through March of 2020 through now and on, where you can follow the scope of this crazy pandemic, this crazy moment in human history. And it's kind of encyclopedic, almost, if that makes sense.
Well, I was thinking about it being almost a historical document of sorts.
It is, and because it's a little bit worldwide in scope and not one place. You know, it's worldwide in scope, and
that's just fantastic. Wow, what a great experience for you to have. You know, at this point in your career, where you've had all these successes and changes and things that you've done. And then when it looks like the door has slammed shut, boom. It just,
as I came to put it, desperation is the mother of invention.
right? Yes, exactly.
Ooh, I mean, when you have no options, it's amazing what you can figure out.
Yeah,
and I had a lot of good friends in the music industry, you know, friends like James McMurtry and Ellis Paul and some people like this that came up with online video concert series that they did from their living rooms that just became extraordinarily popular. They were extraordinarily popular. Yeah.
Right. Well, on a much smaller scale, that's how Trail Talk was actually born too, from
out of desperation.
Right, our doors were closed. How are we going to stay on people's minds? Well, let's start this little Zoom thing where we teach something or invite an artist who's not able to perform anywhere. Let's invite them to come and perform or tell us about some things on Trail Talk. And that's literally how it all started. And we're 150 episodes in now, you know, and I'm about to
film my 137th episode of my online video series. So it's interesting how similar that number is.
It is. And so what is that? The Fire Pit Sessions?
The Fire Pit Sessions.
So tell us about that.
Well, the thing is that I began to discover quickly into the Pandemic Poems Project. See, creating books is very time consuming and graphically very difficult to do. You don't just write poems and then throw them together and you have a book. So there was a lag time from when, you know, these poems were being written to when the book would finally eventually come out. And I began to realize it's like, you know, these people who are doing this and participating in this and being so kind and commissioned, they want to hear their poems now, and they want their friends to be able to hear them as well, and they want other people to be able to share in this poem that they've commissioned. So I began to do this little video series. I read about 3 of the poems from the project, and then I end with a song on the guitar. And I had episodes with well over 1,000 views. We're somewhere up around 75,000 views now on the series. um, I would dedicate the poem to them, and I would alert them ahead of time so they would spread the word with all their friends and say, hey, he's going to read my poem tonight. You got to catch this little show. The song that I chose to, I actually, by summer of 2020, I had a musical director for the Fire Pit Sessions who would help me choose. He would do the research and help me choose the right song for each episode for me to close with. His name was Milton Brasher Cunningham, and he's in Connecticut. You know, so the connections of this thing just and it's 3 songs in a tune, and that's what it became known for. I mean, 3 poems in a tune, and that's what it became known for. And it now has just absolute, you know, I have people who just sit there and wait for it to go live, and, you know, and they all
And
have,
so where do you find that? The Fire Pit Sessions?
I do it from my personal Facebook page. So
Okay.
Nathan Brown on Facebook, and I just do it from my personal Facebook page. I'll do alerts. So I advertise up to it all the time, letting people know ahead of time what time it's going to be, and here's when I will fire it up, and here we go. And by the way, though, every single episode is still up on my Facebook page. So if you go to my Facebook page, you can dial down and see any number all the way from episode 1, and see every single one of these episodes still. And they range from 15 to 30 minutes, just depending on the nature of it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'll have a special guest, and it'll be a special night, and you know, it's fun. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like something I think I'd really enjoy watching. I mean, isn't it cool how the Facebook Live videos just stay out there?
I know, it's amazing.
I love it.
You know, it really and I have to say that the other thing about it is that the video, the Facebook Live thing began to feed the project. So people would watch the show and they'd go, you're doing what? And they would message me or email me or whatever and say, okay, you got to tell me more about this, what's going on here. And I would tell them, and then they would commission poems. And so the book fed the video series, and then the video series began to feed the book project. And again, totally unplanned, had no idea what I was doing. All of it was just happy accidents.
Right, happy accidents. Well, don't you love how, so your creativity needed an outlet, you provided yourself with that outlet, and then you were a little more creative than just, I'm going to read a few poems. I'm going to add, make them personal. They'll be personal. I'll let those people know. We're going to throw in a song here. And then you have a hit, you have something that really draws people in. And I love how, the creativity just fuels more creativity and brings all that together. That's
and by the way, for 2022, we are already now in the process of beginning to book a nationwide concert series of the Fire Pit Sessions on the road. And so the favorite poems and songs, we've already got an East Coast tour and a West Coast tour booking. And so it was like the songs and the poems that were the most popular from the Fire Pit Sessions video series and from the books, we're going to create a concert that weaves those poems and songs in and out of each other. And in 2022, we're taking it on the road. And we'll probably turn it into a video series where we film the concerts. And we're doing outdoor backyard, concerts where, keeping everything totally responsible and open air and just,
wow. I don't know. I'm envisioning like a Broadway musical or something someday. I don't know. There seems to be something out there.
Well, the longer it goes, the more you have to choose from, and the more dynamic and fun a concert can be.
Exactly.
And it's remarkable how it all. Yeah. So, whereas of March 2020, I thought my life was over. And I thought everything was coming to an end. And in a sense, I feel like I'm going to come out of this better off than I was.
Exactly. And with a whole new set of, experiences awaiting you, things you never even dreamed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
Wow.
and a lot of new fans, to be honest, because of the way that Facebook works. So
Yes,
people
exactly.
anywhere in the world, somebody can tell their friend, you got to watch this, you know. So I had a guy type into the comments section one time of one of my shows, and he said, you know, coming to you from Australia, or no, I think it was Christchurch, New Zealand, and it was like,
Uh-huh.
um, so cool to catch this. My friend told me, and how this is so fun, you know. It's just like, only that can only happen, you know,
Right.
in this strange world.
The fact that the pandemic happened after we had where we were with technology,
Hmm.
I think is probably what has, I don't know, saved a lot of people, artists like you, places like the Heritage Center, if you're able to take advantage of something that was already there,
Hmm.
then it's not the end.
Yeah.
You have a chance to do something new and different with
Exactly.
it.
And it wasn't only as a traveling performer, it was also as a teacher. So I couldn't even fall back on what I used to do because I
Right.
weren't going into the classroom and teaching. And so I couldn't even fall back on anything. I had it was, well, the word I used at the very beginning of this was lights out. It was lights out, nothing.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
fortunately, my wife works online. She's an editor for magazine, does a little bit of work for Penguin, and she's a professional editor. And so all her work was online, and that saved our lives. Yeah,
Oh, right,
yeah.
right. Wow. That's awesome. So I also so you have more than 20 books out there that you've written.
Mhm.
You have the Pandemic Project. So how do people, how can we buy your books or find them? How do we do that?
Well, most of my books are available on Amazon. We are in Full Circle Bookstore in Oklahoma City. Full Circle Bookstore in Oklahoma City has been very kind to us for many years, and they sell a lot of books for me. I appreciate them deeply. Um, and we will soon be in Book People in Austin, which is a wonderful, huge independent bookstore in Austin, Texas. And the
Mhm.
Pandemic Poems Project will soon be there. And but most people are getting them if they want them signed. We work out some way for them to get them from me.
Mhm.
And for people who want to get them and get them quickly, they just get them on Amazon. And frankly, it all helps. Everybody's like, well, should I just get it from you? They feel guilty about ordering on Amazon, and I tell people, hey, don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all good.
Right, right,
You know,
for sure.
yeah, it's all good.
So do you still write a poem a day?
For 25 years, yeah,
For 25 years.
I've written a
That
poem today.
and that's a poem that doesn't count the Pandemic Poem Project or
Oh,
poems for
that
books
doesn't
or
count. That doesn't count a lot of other writing I do. No matter what, at least some point in this day, usually morning, I will, get up and I will write it. I will be honest with you. It's not a professional exercise.
okay.
It's a spiritual exercise. It is a morning meditation for me, and I can't live without it. And frankly, my family doesn't even like it. Like, if I have a day where I'm not getting to it, even the people I live with will be, hey, why don't you, go write a poem because you're kind of miserable and nobody wants to be around you. And it's just because it is like it's the joy of my day. And it sort of aligns me as a human being. And so I tell people right now that if I never published another book, never did another online video series, never performed again, anything, I would probably continue to write a poem a day for the rest of my life anyway.
Wow. So do you just have volumes of
Oh God,
books around?
it's just like, the one that's right in front of me at the moment is Journal 117.
Oh,
This is my 117th journal, here. And by the
wow.
way, I handwrite the poem every day too. and journal.
Okay.
And I sketch, I draw, I glue things in and tape letters in. Like in the Pandemic Poems Project, if somebody mails me a letter on stationery with their prompt,
Right.
I will. Hey, Dara, how you doing?
You're not on the same
Oh,
class.
yeah, I'm on an interview right now, so you're fine. Don't worry, you're fine. And I will take that letter that was written to me on stationery or on a letter, and I'll tape it into the journal with their poem, and so it's kind of a preservation exercise actually, and it's pretty meaningful.
Right.
Yeah.
That is very, so, do you have any poems that you would want to share with us?
Well, it's funny. I don't have one of the books with me at the moment,
Right.
but there might be, if I can find it real quickly here, I might have one of the fresh ones.
Oh, there we go. Out of journal number 117.
Yeah, well, and so this one is, let's see. So this is one now. This was not necessarily written as a commission, but will probably find its way into book 5, basically because it's an important chronological moment in the book series. And so this is a part of what's going on with me that needs to be kind of a part of this story along with the commissions. Not every single poem in those books is a commission necessarily. And so the title of this one is From Z to A. And you need to understand this is unedited and raw. It was only written a few days ago, and I normally don't I normally don't do this. Okay, so
Sorry if I put you on the spot. No
Unedited.
judging, no critiquing.
okay, unedited,
Yeah.
totally raw. Z to A. There, that's better. So it's a poem that continues from a poem before that I was moving things around in the new room of my new house, trying to figure out a writing spot, and I couldn't make anything work, and I couldn't get things, the feng shui or whatever you want to call it, and I couldn't get things in place. I said, there, that's better. I moved it down the way, closer to the guitar where the salt lamp glows orange against the blue wall. And geez, it sure is hard to write when your space is unsettled. Wait, hold on for just a minute. Okay, so I went ahead and unloaded Z to S of the poetry into the one shelf I'm certain, sort of where it's going to go. I boxed them up from A forwards, so they have to come out backwards, a thing that makes perfect sense to me. And a good time to mention that the Polish poet Adam Zagajewski deserves to finally be first on the show.
Shoot. He froze up.
We're not.
No. What happened? Maybe he'll come back. Well, it looks like we had right in the middle of his unedited raw poem. It looks like we had a little connection issue. I think we'll give it a few more seconds before we give up. Sometimes this happens here and it just takes a little time for it to work its way through. Nope, looks like he's gone. Well, that is certainly unfortunate, wasn't it? We didn't even get to tell him goodbye. Maybe we'll see if he tries to dial back in. It may just be that the connection is lost, but wow, I hope you guys were enjoying that as much as I was. I feel like we really had a great interview with Dr. Nathan Brown. And you suppose I'm looking at my people behind the camera now, seeing what they're thinking. We're kind of seeing some of this. Yeah, okay, we'll give it 1 minute. I tell you what, while we're waiting, I'm going to go over a few things. I have my Bark in the Park t-shirt on. If you remember our the Stevens County Humane Society, they were on Trail Talk last week. Bark in the Park is this coming Saturday, October 23rd, from 11 to 3. If you want to do the WAG walk with or without your dog, the choice is yours. It's a little 1 mile fun walk. Starts at 9:30. So a whole fun day of events over at Fuquay Park. Be sure and put that on your calendars. Also, next week on Trail Talk on Wednesday, we're going to have a kind of a timely episode called Halloween Safety Tips. So we'll have some fun Halloween facts and maybe a story and some good safety tips that everyone should be aware of during Halloween. And then Thursday, Bill Volker from SIA, the Comanche tribal organization that he was on via Zoom a couple of weeks ago. He is going to be here live, and he's going to bring some of the rescue eagles that they have in their facility right now. And so we're very excited for that episode. I can't wait. You know, these birds are sacred to so many Native American peoples. And so we're very excited for SIA to come and visit us in person. And as always, guys, we have lots of super fun, exciting things coming up around here at the Heritage Center. Remember, November the 6th is Raining in the Arts. We have a full afternoon of entertainment. There will be artists here with their pieces that they've created, and they'll be available for purchase. You can meet the artist. We're going to have performing artists. Oh, yay, Dr. Brown is connecting again. And so that a whole big fun time there. Am I muted? No.
No.
Yes, I am. No.
I am muted.
Hey, okay, there you, yay! I just kept talking. Give you a chance to get back
I'm
on.
so sorry. This is my life right now. I don't live anywhere. I don't have any home. I'm just like, I mean, look at this cavernous room behind me.
Right?
Not a painting on the wall, so it's echoey and loud, but I'm so sorry, but this is just kind of the way things have been.
No, it's quite all right. I'm just so glad you were able to reconnect.
Okay, yeah, anyway, so, I'm sorry that we got cut off on that one. My goodness, wow. But
No, that is okay. I know you were a little bit, were you close to the end by chance?
I was about, I don't know. I was about halfway through, but I know, but this is live and I'm just laughing about how, but I've had, when you do as many episodes as you have done and I've done the same thing, the things that have happened, the things that have gone awry, numerous, like it just all the time, it just goes on and, equipment. Basically, I'm out on the back porch and my computer dies. The battery goes dead, and so
Whoops.
I'm running through the house, and my friends are like, "What's wrong?" And so a strange change of scene. There we go.
Well, with that cliffhanger poem, we are all going to have to get book number 5. And find it so we can find out how it ends.
There you go. That's the perfect answer. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Brown, it has been such a pleasure having you as a guest on Trail Talk.
Well, thank you. It has been a pleasure to do it. This is wonderful. And I tell you, this museum and these folks there and those kids there in that part of the state, I always tell the kids, it's like my dad, when he lived in Cyril, Oklahoma, played baseball for Marlowe. My family roots go deep in that part of Oklahoma.
Well, here's an interesting thing. I grew up in Cyril, Oklahoma.
Oh, really? Now
I did. Yes, my mom and dad still live there.
There are very few people on this planet who can say that.
I know, not a lot of us. I was going to mention that earlier when I asked you if that was your dad. So.
My dad played high school baseball there for the Pirates in Cyril.
Yes.
and was recruited by the baseball team at OBU in Shawnee, where he did so well that towards the end of his college days, he was recruited by the Oakland A's. And
Wow.
he became a preacher instead. I was crushed, you know.
Right. Right. Yeah. It happens.
I
It
know.
happens. People get called for other things, but yes, the very small world for all of that. But yeah, putting Surreal on the map. In fact, I was just mentioning next week, our guest on Trail Talk, there is an organization in Surreal that rescues eagles and other birds that are sacred to Native Americans.
I saw this place the last time I was there, and I thought, what is that? Like, what?
I know.
Because it looks out of place, not in a bad way. It just looks out of place, and you see this, like,
Right.
what is this? And it's absolutely amazing.
It is. And so we met via Zoom a few weeks ago, and he talked about the preserving the history of the Comanche people. But next week he's going to bring some of the eagles and come here.
Oh,
And so we'll get to do, I know, a live interview with the eagles. I'm so excited
Okay.
about
but that's absolutely fantastic. Wow, I love it. Just Surreal, Oklahoma.
that. I know, right? Take them
I
on
mean,
the map.
I love that town. That was my Grandma Brown. I mean, I've written poems about many poems about Surreal, about my grandmother and my Surreal days when we would go down there. I've done a lot.
Really?
Mhm. Oh yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. That is so cool. I'm going to have to find those books now.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. Well, again, you know, from an 8-year-old John Denver wannabe to touring the country with your fire pit sessions upcoming, you've covered so much in your life, and wow, just congratulations. And
Well, thanks. It's been a journey to say the least, but a good one. And and by the way, thank you, because it is a wonderful thing to get to share this story with others, and it helps me, you know, to be able to spread the word. You know, I often joke with people that my very unambitious goal in life is that I want to be the Johnny Appleseed of poetry.
I like that.
That's
I
my-
like that. Or like what's the statue at OU? The seed,
the seed, yeah, the seed sower.
yeah, seed thrower. Yeah. There
Yeah,
you go.
yeah, it's yeah, and I don't know if it has a specific name or not, but yeah, I mean, you can't miss that statue there. Yeah.
Right. That's a great picture of, you know, your goals for sharing poetry with people.
Yeah, I want people who think they don't like poetry to find out that they do. And that's my goal.
Well, I hope that folks are introduced to your works today, or just the memories jogged. Oh yes, I remember him, and they are able to find something to fall in love with in some of your work.
Thank you. Thanks.
You're very welcome. And you know, I guess you'll be back here virtually tomorrow.
I will, and hopefully in person in January or February when we come back to do the next set of sessions. I'm hoping to do those in person next early.
Time. Oh, that will be great. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you. So I think it's time to get off of here. And when we sign off from Trail Talk, we always say happy trails.
Happy
So
trail.
Okay, here we go then. Happy
All right.
trails.
Happy trails. All right. We'll see you.